Anywhere you go in off-road now, you see Vision. Vision is everywhere. And it's not because the brand is just set up at the event. Yes, they're at PRI. Yes, you can go to events and Vision will have a booth there. But you see Vision on all the cars. I see it on most teams nowadays. Every time I turn around, there's somebody sponsored by Vision. Todd, is your mic unmuted? Can you hear me? Can hear you?
I can hear you and see you.
Oh
How
yeah,
about
you're
me?
good. I can hear and see you. Let's
All
talk about
right.
this for a second. You seem to be on so many dang cars and off-road. How do you manage so many sponsorships? Why is Vision sponsoring off-road?
So I'll start real quick at the beginning. About 8, 9 years ago, Vision Wheel, the owner of the company, Roger Miner, we sort of talked him into allowing us to market the brand because if a lot of people know that we're almost 50 years old, but a lot of people have never heard of us because we made wheels for other logos. You saw our product, you just didn't know it was a Vision wheel, whether it was MB from the Discount Tire Group or we make wheels for Roush, Shelby, Polaris, Can-Am, a lot of the power sports guys. So we decided about 8, 9 years ago, we're going to have to market the brand. The first thing that we did was I got an invite to go on the wide open cars when they were still running up in Reno. And they were sponsored by our competitor at the time. And I got invited through our relationship with BF Goodrich. So we went up there, ran the cars, and I said, hey, to the general manager at the time, Rob, if something happens to the sponsorship of KMC, let us know. My hands up. We'd like to talk to you because we're getting into sponsoring. So that was like the first thing we did was the wide open cars. Then the next thing was we became the official wheel of Score. Funny thing, we didn't have one car in the race that had our logos on it, except for the wide open cars, but that was a spec class. So it wasn't the coolest thing yet. And then our first sponsored driver was Rob McEachran, believe it or not. And
Good pick.
that yeah, well, the cool thing about that is we signed the contract at the Frozen Rush in Maine. So we weren't in the dirt, we weren't in desert, we weren't in Prim, Barstow, Crandon. We were in Maine to sign our first sponsored athlete, which was pretty neat. Then ran back and had to make wheels for him. So that's the start of Vision Wheel sponsorship. So to answer your question, fast forward about 8 or 9 years, what we did as a company is we decided to look at teams that we could help that would help us too, because obviously it's a two-way street. And Heath prior just he answered a lot of the questions, or he gave a lot of the answers for your question. There is how do you do it? You get out there and you look at the teams and you look at the series, and you have to make decisions based on the ROI for the company. Now, the one of the things is when we first started, it was on. I took it over. I wasn't in marketing. I was in sales. We did marketing, but we didn't do any athlete sponsorship. So there was a lot of us going, or a lot of me going around looking at other competitors, what they were doing, sort of mimicking it, just doing it a different color if they were doing it right. Trying to hire those guys. So that's what got us started. Now, fast forward to just this last year at King of Hammers. I was walking around looking at the vehicles and how many people that we have, racing our wheels, how many we sponsored, and then on the other side of it, how many of these guys paid for these wheels? Because obviously we have a really good dealer program, we have a really good racer program that we've introduced the last couple of years, and we're trying to get more people to race on our product. So we give them a good deal if they're not sponsored by someone else. And we can go out there and put our logos on the cars and stuff. So that's what we've been able to do. And I will fully admit we're probably the most aggressive wheel company out there. And a lot of times we have to, explain that look, it's not because we're making an inferior product. We've won a whole bunch of races. We're Pro 2, Pro 4 champs, short course, both series, East Coast, West Coast. And we won at the Mint. We've won in Mexico. We won all over the place. So we make a really good product. It's just very aggressively priced. So that's been part of the drive to make sure that we have good sponsorship and good value and good visibility. Part of it's racing, but also hits influencers. Both Ruby and Tiffany, I see are on here. They're two of our partners, great people. We try to help out, these guys, these teams, these families. We looking at helping out that we just get a bigger ROI, a better ROI, because you can tell these guys they care about the product too. So it's That's all part of it. And when we look at who we're sponsoring, obviously being a family-owned company, that really has a lot to do with it also, because we know there's some guys out there that are a little bit risky. Probably can't put those in our family portfolio, but we can go out there and be crazy too.
What does a sponsorship from Vision look like? You have so many of them now. They've got to all be different, I'm assuming, but what's an average sponsorship? I'm a driver on the call and I think I'd be a good fit. How could I fit into your program?
Well, for Vision Wheel, I'm going to say in the aftermarket wheel business, we're all pretty much about the same. You've got different levels. The big guy in the room is Wheel Pros by volume and dollar amounts, the largest one out there. We're a close second or third, depending on how you look at it, but there's a little bit of spread. So if you just look at the economics of scale, from us, I'll call out a couple of them: Method guys, Raceline guys, KMC. It's about the big four in the room right now. There's some other ones in there a little bit, but they're probably not doing as much. Off road, depending on if you're doing short course, if you're doing desert, I mean, a good sponsorship would be $25,000 to $50,000. There are some that are a little bit more than that, but the value in it right now just isn't there because of the economy. Margins are shrinking. Coming up to this election, it's just not a good year. We're doing good in sales. Some of our competitors are not so good because of other reasons, not because of just the economy, but there's some turmoil going on there too. So there, right now, this year going into next year, there's going to be a little bit of money that's just not out there when it comes to wheels. And I think for the most part, the aftermarket. So, these guys on this call, I think they're doing the right thing. Hearing your questions to all these guys and all these companies, and we're out there trying to help out these teams as much as we possibly can. We got Crandon coming up next week. That's one of our biggest events. We feel like even our competitors up there are all friends. You really
Mhm.
can't get any more nicer group of people than the Northern Wisconsin people, even though their football team sucks. But we don't really hold that against them too bad. Yeah, we do. We do. We hold it against them a lot. But besides that, we try to help out a lot of those guys up there. There's a lot of families besides the teams, and we look at what they bring to the table. You guys were talking earlier when I was listening about social media and the visibility, and that's why we're looking at influencers besides the racers too, because you have to perform on the track, you have to perform in the desert, but you also have to be a good ambassador for the sport too. So that all comes into
Yes.
play, and that's stuff that everyone on this call has heard before. I'm just backing it up. That's exactly what we look at also.
Are you looking for more teams right now? I mean, you seem to be in a lot of places, spending 25 to 50 grand on a sponsorship. That could support a team to go to quite a few events, at least an off-road team. Are you looking for more teams in off-road, or are you full?
Well, we're definitely not full because just racing, just like everything else, it's fluid. Someone pops up, in the middle of nowhere, for Keegan Kincaid last year, and
Yeah,
Kyle, who's going to be on in
exactly.
a couple minutes, and Doug Matag. That Kyle bought Doug's car. Keegan went down to help support it and brought all of his guys down, all the guys from Impulse Media, Tito and Kyle, and those guys came down again to make sure that we have, support on that stuff. So that was something that we put together. I'm going to say, well, we finished the deal at Sandsport, so end of September, and then went to Mexico. They didn't win, but they finished. And having guys down there that some of those guys on that team have never been to Mexico before, and to do the point to point backwards, and we literally stuck these guys a week in. Where were we at? Rosario? Is that where the mission is with rice and beans? They stayed there for a week and then had to race all night long, get in the car at midnight, and got out of the car at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then Doug bombed it into Ensenada from just south of San Felipe. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that happens that we can put together on a whim. Again, being a family-owned company, I literally have two bosses, so it's two people that I have to talk to with the good ideas that in the budget. Let's do it. Why not? So it's good that we're able to do stuff like that too.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because we were talking earlier about companies and budgets. Does it come from marketing? Does it come from finance? Real quick, go over your budget cycle, but then also more importantly is who makes that decision? Does this the CEO or the CFO, does the owner of the company say, look, here's how much we have to spend on marketing, so here's your budget for the year? Or do you go to that person and say, I have some great marketing ideas. This is what it's going to cost. Please allocate this to me so I can sponsor the following teams as part of a marketing plan. How does the budget process work?
Okay, to answer your questions real quick, yes, yes, and yes. So we go to Roger, who owns it, and we ask, what's the budget? And he's never given us a number. He
Okay.
said, what do you guys want to do? So we put it down. And now, actually, the last couple of years, I haven't been part of the decision making or even the planning. We've got Jim Beaver, who's our brand manager. We got Jen Hellstrom that's helping out and doing event coordinator. So she's gathering a lot of the data to throw at Jim to present the budget. And then Ryan Edwards is our race director. So he's helping out bring the teams to the fold. And we do have a scorecard. You know, we look at wins, we look at, you know, the type of team, we look at the spread where we can get, because right now our biggest thing is, I don't want to say that we're the off-road side we're big on. We don't want to, you know, rest on our laurels. We still want to grow in the off-road, but we're also coming out with other products too. So we've got a drag race wheel line that will be unveiling at PRI this year, and we've got a couple other things that we're doing. We've got carbon fiber that we're finally going to bring that out. We've got a new forge program that we're bringing out too, but that's both off-road and street. So we've got to take some of that budget. We're not taking it from off-road, but we're expanding into NHRA. We sponsor MotoGP, Team Hammer, Suzuki teams.
Hmm.
Now we don't make motorcycle wheels. The owner of the company races bikes, so this is his, I'm going to support my hobby. We're going to get logos all over these things. So we are expanding into other areas. We do a lot in the trailer marine business. We're huge in UTV. So we do spread out. And so what we do is we'll take our budget and we'll take our projections for next year and we'll look at, here's our chunk of off-road, here's our chunk of street, how much we want to grow it, here's our truck, hot rod, here's how much we want to grow it. And then we'll look at make a nice little colored pie graph and then start divvying it up. And then whatever number Roger gets, Jim, Jen, and Ryan get to sit down and say, all right, we need more. First thing,
Right on.
put another zero at the end, please, which never happens, unfortunately. And then we start looking at, you know, where our biggest ROI is. One of the things, and what we try to do, and I try to make these guys stick with it because we've started it in the beginning, is make sure we take care of the guys that are taking care of us. I don't want to jump around, and I don't want to be that team, which, you know, look, it happens, but I don't want to be that company that has, we're on this truck next year, then this truck, then a different truck, then a different truck. I
Agreed.
don't want to be I don't want to be in that position. I want to be faithful to the guys and help their brand grow as we grow too, because that's very important to us.
And that makes sense because race teams are small businesses, and it sounds like Vision is a small business relative to, let's say, Monster and Ford, who we've spoken to. But you understand small businesses are operated by a very small number of people. And if you can make them happy, and whether it's creating motocross products or motorcycle or bicycle products, because that's their passion, you know what? You have to do it. Thank you,
Yep.
Todd. Thanks for taking the time. 15 minutes goes really fast.
Thanks, Alex. You guys have a great night.
All right. I'll see you next time.
All right, bye.